Welcome everyone to episode 379 of Just Joshing. I'm your host Joshua Cantellaresco. I write stuff in podcast 2 today. Bryan Tann joins the podcast. This is a retaping actually. I lost the original file, and it made me sad because I loaded it up. I was gonna have some fun with it because this is Bryan Tann, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Bryan's a funny dude. But I lost it, and then things have happened since. And ever since then, you kind of look at it and go, oh, okay. And so things got a lot more serious in this conversation. So I'm going to warn you, because this was a tough conversation in places, for sure. You always know, you have a thought in the back of your head how bad things can be. And I've had a number of friends over in the United States. I've had some friends even up here that have gone over some of the experiences they've had. And you realize that like this anger, this frustration is justified. And it's been going on for a very long time. And there's really no other way of saying it. So I'm going to warn you guys, this gets intense. This is a lot longer than a standard interview for that reason. I wanted people to really understand I wanted to give this the time, and Bryan the time to do what he needed to say. We do get past it, and have a more normal just joshing in the second half, but just fair warning, this conversation is definitely not quite for the faint of heart. Anyways, let's just get to that conversation, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
But anyway, we are the recorder's turned on. So Bryan, like I asked you last time, if you got anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
Nah, I've always got something. I've always got shit to say. So but you're running the show on this. I'm just a guest. So I'm here to talk about whatever, answer whatever, and give you the complete and utter, unfiltered glimpse into my brain.
Are we ready to go inside your brain?
That's a question for you. I live in this thing 24 hours.
I always like usually I'm the insane one. Like for even my other creators, I'm just me. I'm unapologetically me. I'm just like, are you ready for me? And I'm like, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. And it's usually it works out kind of well. But every once in a while, you get one of those like zany little moments where it's like, I don't think it computed the same way in my head as it did in real life. Like that kind of thing. So yeah, if you can do that to me, kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you. So, the last time we talked, the apocalypse didn't seem as bad.
Well, it didn't, and then it's almost like 2020 decided that it was going to be a mashup of the 1920, 1918, like 1612, and the 1960s and 70s all in one.
Yep.
Not to mention that and then it was suspected that there would be murder hornets, so you got some sci-fi thrown in there to boot.
I think the murder hornets got cut, dude.
Right.
They got cut.
You know what I think life is right now, to be honest with you, Jay? I think life is like the cabin in the woods. So it's like there's just this huge board of all these different like situations and calamities, and someone just decided to hit everything.
See, okay. So do you want the serious answer or do you want the silly answer?
Either or.
Okay, so I'll do the silly answer first. We are literally like 1968, specifically the year 1968, because if it was 1969, there'd be Woodstock. But we don't have that yet. I hope that's how the story ends. Actually, is we have a giant Woodstock party / whatever. That would be great. After everything everybody's gone through this year, a wild party at the end would not be the worst thing that could happen. But to me, it's 1968 because there was a pandemic then as well. Civil rights was coming to the forefront yet again at that time. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, there were definitely some instances of just leaders being assassinated and removed, and people were angry, much like they were now. The difference between then and now, though, is you guys have a grandpa in office that may or may not need his diaper changed, and he needs to go.
Yeah, that's about accurate.
Yeah, that's what that's the honest answer. I mean, there are other things that looking around, I'm thinking, well, okay, I'm a little concerned about, like for me, when this resolves, right? I hope it resolves in something brand new. I don't want to go to another year like 19. Actually what this is. This is like what happens if you mix Cabin in the Woods with Back to the Future. We're time traveling into all these different eras. That's what we're doing. So the era I want to.
Or even still, or it's more like it's just history repeating itself, really. It's almost like Groundhog Day.
Well, yeah. Well, it is history repeating itself because this. Okay, the United States is an incredibly special case in like the pandemic. Even prior to the pandemic, it was a special case. I'm not saying Canada passed with flying colors either. There's definitely some holes in our game. Right, especially if you look at how the elderly died in this country big time, we definitely got some things to work on.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's funny is that someone mentioned today, I happened to see on social media, they brought up y'all's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and with everything that's going on with the issue of race right now, everyone brings up about him being in blackface.
Yes.
Now, I give him credit for standing up and saying, look, I was wrong, yada, 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 yada. I give him credit for at least admitting it's wrong. The problem that I have, though, is you knew it was wrong, you did it anyway. And granted, it was way back when, and I get it. People have to grow and change, and that's a big part of it. If people aren't going to grow and change, then what the hell is the point of protesting?
Well, there's that. I mean, there's also just. I mean, we mentioned the broad side, like who you are then versus who you are now.
Right.
But also, I mean, let's be honest. We all have colossal fuck ups in our past. All of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. We all have colossal.
Name me one person that doesn't.
Yeah. So we all colossal. So I saw something from Jocko Willink. I thought it was a great thing. He told a story about what happened during World War I between Germany and Britain. And it was a heartbreaking story, but the lesson was really, really good because during the middle of the story, you had two opposing sides who was able to find common ground for a very short period of time, and there was no fighting. And what's happened here is the important thing I think we got to do is what happened to George Floyd was dehumanizing, right? Incredibly, and the nonchalance of it was what angered many people, not just African Americans, but any minority that's living in the United States has that fear to some degree, to some extent, and discrimination's worldwide. But we can't dehumanize each other at all. Whatever side of the protest, black cops have families, their brothers, sisters, mothers, daughters, they're people, and on the voice of protesters are angry, hurt. They want change. And they're both very human sides that way. It's really the problem is the system itself needs to be overhauled. And I think pretty much everybody agrees that's where the energy kind of needs to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think that's a good point. My whole thing is this. It's really strange to me that black folks got so many allies around the world right now. I think it's great. But my whole thing is, where were these people before? And where are they going to be when Black Lives Matter is no longer trending? Are they still going to be there? And that's just me asking a question.
this
trying to take a dump on the fact that these people are out there, and because I appreciate it, I do. Like, God, I mean, as a black man, I appreciate very much seeing the multitudes of different races and creeds and genders and sexual orientations coming out to say that the lives of black people matter and they should matter, and I appreciate it. And I remember my heart breaking when I saw the what was posted about the young Caucasian woman who died from difficulties of asthma because of the tear gas that was launched out. And my heart broke for her. This young woman gave her life for the cause. And I appreciate her very much for that. There's no reason why she should have had to lose her life over the use of a tactic that is illegal in war. So why is it legal for crowd control? And it's sickening and it makes me sick. However, I have to ask the question about, we've had cell phones with cameras in them now for what, about 10 years now?
at least.
Where was the majority of some of these allies when that happened? When we've been taking these videos forever? Where was the lot of them? And it's like, I think what scares me is that some of these people are seeing this as a flavor of the week to stand up for. And then eventually there's going to be something else to...
Can I rebut this?
Yeah, please.
So, okay. Part of the reason, rightly or wrongly, this was tolerated, and let's be honest, it was tolerated, right? Was simply because it was largely considered an American problem. I think one of the things that kind of happened first, okay, like I said, you look at the history of your police forces, okay? These problems have been going on for 150 years. Easy. Oh, no. Far longer. The reason I bring up that particular date and time, because that's when the Civil War ended, okay? You had a lot of survivors from the South, and they had to go somewhere. And a lot of the modern police forces were founded based on from the Civil War survivors. So when you look at where some of the worst atrocities have ever occurred, and you trace it all the way back to where they were founded, it's not that hard to see the connection. This has been a problem inbred in the United States. The United States has been made whole. It's been in that foundational crack forever. But I think
the thing is that policing in the United States started out with as basically slave patrolling.
Yes.
And the fact of the matter was that even when we were free from the Emancipation Proclamation, we for goddamn sure were never free.
Yeah.
We just weren't. And the police were literally there just to keep us in line.
Yeah.
That's literally all it was.
Yeah, so there you go, right? So when you see all the brutality that's going on, the history, especially here, is very unique that way. But I think what the pandemic did, and this is kind of where what happened here, it sped up the process of the United... Okay, so the long-term impact of this. If the United States doesn't change, the next crisis, you guys will collapse like the Soviet Union. There's no question about it. Just financially, everything else, just how you guys have built yourselves to this point, you will collapse like the Soviet Union did in 1990. We're talking history repeating itself. That's where you guys are. And I think
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree at all. I mean...
So can I finish? Okay,
yeah, please.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Donald Trump could become a dictator. That is still a possible outcome here. No one wants to see the United States in its death throes be a dictator. Because then we're going to have to repeat what happened in World War II all over again. I think the reason why, one of the quiet reasons why this is a big deal, is because if the United States trounces on civil liberties here now, right, of its own people, as it gets into its more, because let's be honest, I do not see the current regime changing how they do business. So if that continues and there's another crisis, you have the biggest military in the world that could literally go outside. This has become the world's problem. It's not just a country's issue anymore. So I think everybody wants this change because no one wants to see the United States become a tyranny, become a go down the truly darkest timeline it could go down, because it may not last long, but it will be hell for everybody else. Does that make sense?
I mean, it does, but the thing is that you say how nobody wants to see America become, tyrannical because of how it affects everyone. That's like saying, though, that the United States never did practice any sort of form of tyranny, at least for people of color and the indigenous population. I mean, the thing is, and this is the point that I was kind of alluding to when I was saying, where were those allies before?
Yeah.
And the thing is that, and you're absolutely right, people are now starting to see this as a global problem because the United States has sort of ingrained itself in the world.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk Western culture, you're talking the United States. Let's just be frank
absolutely.
about that.
Oh.
So basically, the rest of the world don't want to see the United States become a tyrannical state or crumble, because if it does, it's going to ruin the world.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what it turns into is, for some, I'm not saying for all. This is just my opinion. I'm not saying everyone, but from the way I see it, as much as I appreciate all of these other countries taking up the cause, they didn't give a flying fig before until it could put them at jeopardy. And that's part of the reason why Black Lives Matter is an important mantra. No one cared. I'm not going to say no one cared. Let me see if I can come up, because I'm still kind of fired up. I spent the last couple of weeks going through anger, like outright fury, and then heartbreak, and now I'm just like a simmering anger. But it's almost like the reason why, and anytime I hear someone say all lives matter, I'm not a violent man anymore. But when I hear people try to say, well, all lives matter, it makes me flash back to the days of being a violent individual. Because it basically, what it tells me, and I understand your point, and your point makes perfect sense, it almost seems like though Black lives didn't matter to anybody in the world until it put them at risk. Now it's a problem. Just like, you hear people when we talk about the Native Americans, oh man, that's screwed up. Yeah, but it ain't stopping nobody from benefiting from it, now is it?
It's the nature of empire. I think
it's human nature.
Oh no, it is, but it's the nature of. So I read a book once called "The Energy of Slaves," right? And the reason why slavery existed in the United States, and the perspective was not from the point of view of the human element of it, but from the mechanisms of empire. And one of the big mechanisms of empire is power itself, the nature of power. And so basically it talked about the idea that if you have one person doing a job, right, and now you have three people doing a job, you have 3 times the output. The Civil War was the invention of the oil age, because oil could automate what had been done with slavery in the past. So one of the other conflicts that was going on is it's about what's going to be the source of power going forward from here. So, and every empire has this. Doesn't matter which like the United States is an empire. It's a slightly different empire in the sense that it doesn't annex countries the same way Rome did or Greece did or any of the more or some of the other empires in our history have done. But it has fed off the resources of the planet for a very, very long time to maintain its power, right?
Absolutely.
Right? So...
I mean, what other countries have embassies in other countries?
Exactly.
I mean,
No.
There's no German embassy
There's
in America that I know of.
Well, no, you have embassies, but you don't have military bases. Like, there's no other military bases, right? There's no military bases in other places in the world.
And
So,
that's what I meant to say. I didn't mean to
yeah. No, I got you. So, what I'm saying is, right? Like, there's that So, what happens with an empire, any empire, is there's a point of feeding the beast. To grow, you have to consume more. So the bigger you become, the more you need to eat. The more you need to eat, the more you need to consume. The more you consume, the more you exploit. Right? Canada's guiltiest in terms of racial crimes is probably the Native American population. Right? And there's a lot of other like stains on us, but it's by far and away it's the Native population. I think, in my view, just because of how we treat them, of how they've been exploited, and just how quietly tucked away it is. No one talks about it up here. It's uncomfortable up here, and like. There's definitely a human nature element, but there's also it's the mechanism of empires, how we've done empires all throughout our history. The bigger we become, the more we feed, and the more we feed, the more we exploit. That seems to be the inevitable conclusion there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I think that it's an overarching issue of white supremacy. The idea of white supremacy. I mean, it's a matter of, where you say, Canada, its biggest was against the indigenous population there. Here in America, it started with the indigenous population and then the black community. And so on and so on and so many other areas. I mean, look at South America. It's the white supremacy there as well. And, if you talk about these things and you don't get uncomfortable, that's a problem. You're supposed to get uncomfortable because it's uncomfortable, and it's like in the white fragility of it, it's like, oh, well, now I'm uncomfortable. Well, how do you think it was for the folks that have actually lived it, or are the descendants of people that have lived it and they're dealing with the aftermath? It sucks and it's horrible. And like I said before, I appreciate the allies that are coming out. I'm not impugning them for standing up and standing with. I'm not. I'm just simply making the point that it wasn't there before. The support seemingly wasn't there before, but now it is because it affects them. And I get it. That's human nature. It makes sense. It's just we've got to start having these discussions. Because when you can start having the discussions, then you can get to education and healing. Because the thing is, and I've said this to a couple of people on social media, it ain't up to black people to fix racism.
No.
Racism that's not something we came up with.
Oh.
It's something that was put upon us. So it's like, and I've actually had this conversation with a couple of people personally. It's like, don't come to me thinking that I'm gonna fix your racism.
Oh.
You need to fix your own racism. I'm not a racism carpenter. Okay.
So I've been saying this quote every so often on my podcast last little bit. The nature of intelligence is to discern difference. That's what intelligence does. Wisdom is not being afraid of it.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's 100% accurate. I think that you have to have the wisdom. You have to have more wisdom than your forefathers to fix this problem. I've heard so many white folks try to tell me, even over the years, well, I didn't personally enslave you. And neither was my father or my grandfather. No, they didn't. But your grandfather and his father before him damn sure benefited from my people being enslaved, and you benefited from us in Jim but it's like, if you feel like it's a personal attack, well, maybe you should look at yourself in the mirror. If my wife makes a blanket statement about men being dogs and how they cheat, and I take it as a personal attack, she's going to think that I have a reason for seeing it as a personal attack. Like, maybe she's uncovered something about me. You know? And it's like, people so badly want to use the term, hashtag own the libs and snowflake this and snowflake that, but it's like, you getting mad because of a term, or you get mad because people are standing up, and you take it as a personal attack, well, then that says something about you. And this is another meme that I've seen, that racism is so ingrained in America that if you march against it or fight against it, then people say you're against America. That's a powerful statement right there.
There's some truth to that.
Now, am I saying that America's the most racist country in the world? No.
No, God, no.
Every country in the world has has stories and nightmares of prejudice against an oppressed people. South Africa, for one. Germany is having issues. Germany during World War II and the years before. But not to mention the fact that people that are going to Germany as refugees are running into issues with, nationalists, pridesters that are making their lives difficult. Even some people that are running to some of these other Scandinavian countries are running into issues. It happens over the globe. It's a wider problem in some of these instances. And it's that people of color just have a hard time getting that fair shake that they deserve because of the color of their skin. And it's garbage.
And well, it's worldwide. Like I say, if you look at, heck, we can go racism all over the world. Japan has its own racist culture. China has its own racist culture, right?
Yeah.
India,
black people there.
Yeah. Yeah. So then India has its own bit of racism. But it's not only just racism. We divide ourselves in ideology, poverty, sexuality, right? We go out of their way, right?
Separate. We go out of our way to segregate ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a bigger. Like I said, intelligence discerns difference, right? So it's which part of human nature you encourage. There's a. If you take a bunch of chicks and you decide to put a little red mark on one of the chicks, all the other chicks will attack that one chick because it's different, right? Then there's the whole concept of sheep flock, just everybody, or lemmings following anything. It goes up and up off a cliff. So the one of the other bigger problems is today we have all of the knowledge in the world on our fingertips, all of it. But most of us don't know how to critically think and use it.
No, we don't.
Right.
Well, some people are willfully ignorant.
Oh, sure. That has always been the case. Some people cheat.
I have one person right now, and I noticed it came up in my notifications. A friend of mine, is a Caucasian woman. She posted a meme or something about the use of tear gas and blah, blah, blah. And one guy is sitting here and he's saying, oh, well, this is all wrong. And I'm posting stuff that's, from black people that are saying that this isn't a race problem, but it's something else. And I asked, I said, well, what the hell black people are you talking to? Oh, Candace Owens. And it's like, as soon as you bring up that name, it's like, well, that's just the dumb following the ignorant.
I have no idea who Candace Owens is, my friend. I don't. So.
Candace Owens, you know what? You should consider yourself lucky you don't know who she is.
Okay.
Because she's a terrible human being. She's an absolutely horrible human being. I'm not gonna resort to using sort of a class insult that is boiled into racism. I'm not going to use that to describe her because I'm above that. But I will say that she's a black woman she's the black person that racists like to keep around so they can see, this one agrees with us. You know what I mean? She's one of those types. She's the one that she'll sit there and be so hypercritical of anything black, but she's black herself. But see, the thing is that she's a grifter, is what she is. She gets paid to tell white supremacists what they want to hear. When I say white supremacists, I'll even say far right, alt right, whatever. She's the quote unquote one that they go to, and she tells them what they want to hear. For some of them, it makes them feel like they're less racist because a black person agrees with them. But she's just a terrible human being, and she'll sit there and she'll say, "Oh, there's no racism," and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, she made use of the NAACP when she was wrongfully terminated from a job once. So, yeah. But it's there's so much willful ignorance because you get these news outlets, and I use the term news loosely, and I differentiate media from news outlets because news outlets all have their own agendas. You have left-leaning news networks and you have right-leaning news networks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these people that are right-centric, they lean toward Fox News, while people that are more Democratic and left-leaning go to MSNBC or CNN or whatever the hell. And these people that are on the right with Fox News, they're so anti-black, but they suck it up because it's like, yeah, these people think like we do, and they're all yeah. But when people say or do things, no one bothers to fact check. They just see these numbers that Fox News will put out, and they take it as gospel.
So
that's not always it. They don't want to hear that numbers can be fudged to force a point.
So, me personally, and I've been, this was even before this happened, like we did during the pandemic, one of the things I thought was the worst thing about this whole time was the 24-hour news cycle. I think, I watched an interview with Jon Stewart the other day with Chris Wallace when he was on that show, and one of the things he said, and I think I agree with him, the 24-hour news channel is built for an event like 9/11 perfectly. There's just that's the kind of event that kind of cycle covers.
Right.
But when you don't have that event,
you gotta make news.
Well, you sensationalize, and I think you know, I'm almost of half the mindset that I honestly think one of the biggest solutions to the problems out there is just turn the TV off, just shut it off, because
you're not wrong.
Yeah,
I stay away from news. I stay away from the news.
Yeah.
Because it's just all like you said, it's all sensationalized. It's all agenda driven.
Yeah, and even when there's facts, there is any like iota facts, right? Iota facts, iota concerns. You know, people will hit you for your bias, like the bias of whatever article you use, which means that none of them are credible anymore. And that's damning actually to all of them, not just Fox, because Fox was a good brand. Say what you will about their content, the fact of the matter is they might be one of the best brands in America. Good, bad, or indifferent.
I mean, they did a good job going from, you know, a movie conglomerate to a television conglomerate to now to a news conglomerate. Yeah, they did an amazing job.
Yeah. I'm speaking strictly as a brand, not in terms of content. Just strictly as a brand.
Oh, as a brand, they absolutely have.
Yeah. I'm speaking strictly as a brand. You have to admire. They understood who they were, and they haven't deviated one bit.
Not at all.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
CNN, I have a little bit. I'm frustrated with because CNN used to be the news, and then they became left leaning.
Well, it's again, it's the nature of. So, how How do you counter? Fox has the biggest ratings. How do you counterbalance Fox? Try to create an equivalent.
But the thing is at CNN, though, they try to act like they're so different from Fox News, but they're Fox News, but with different clothes on.
But that's but again, you're trying to be something you're not. Fox knows who they are.
Yeah.
CNN, and like I said, I think personally, the 24-hour news cycle should be shut down. I think if you're gonna I think if you're gonna do news, do it like in the old days, 2 hours a day. That's it. Because the news is the news. I just don't like how it propagates and tells the story. That's just a personal opinion. But
to be honest, I mean, to your point on that, I think the best thing that could have happened to us as a society is if Y2K would have actually happened. To be honest.
Yeah, no. I mean, it wouldn't have changed the cycles. I think going back to knowledge and wisdom, we have stopped teaching ourselves how to critically think. Right?
Yeah, because no one wants to critically think anymore. It's hard.
Well, it's hard, but it's also just no one's taught these things. Like, again, knowledge base wise, kids coming up today are smarter than I was.
Mm-hmm.
Way smarter. They don't know how to use it, but they got it. I mean, damn. Right? Trying to keep up with that, can't do it. But can I take the information they're presenting to me and solve a problem? Yep, sure can. Right? But that's the difference in what we focus on. So what happens is you take these people with incredible knowledge and you take and again even our generations, just generally speaking, we don't look. We don't like investigative journalism is a novelty today, not because it's hard, not because anyone's especially clever. It's because no one does it, right? And as a result, like I said, and the thing about television is, no one, like when they've done brainwave studies, if you're watching TV, your brain's like it's sleeping, right? So.
Right.
That means there's no thought. Whereas if you're reading a book, if you're doing you're playing a game, if you're reading a book, if you're, right, there's a lot more mental stimulation. There's a lot more room for critical thought and thinking and feeling and so, I mean, in one sense, I think these networks have played a big role in creating the divides that exist today. I think it was deliberate, and there was an investment put into it. I'm not sure that, going forward, when we think things through, right? When we think things through, you want to have those kind of news cycles. You want to have that kind of stuff on the media. But I don't have a magic solution to that either.
And I think that's the one thing that kind of gets me is that people want magic solutions to everything. Well, or if you come out with a gripe on something, well, what's your solution? It's not about being able to fix everything all the time. It's a matter of one, recognizing that there's a problem. I don't think any one person can just fix all of the problems. No. It's impossible. But what I think is that if you just are able to recognize there's a problem, then we can start doing better.
Yeah.
But the thing is, everyone just wants to say, "Oh, well, fix it then," and there's not. And I think that it's a laziness, and it's not even just laziness. Laziness is part of it, but it's also this combative theory. Well, then do something. And it's like, no, not everything has to be straight up combat. If I say that the system is racist and it needs to be fixed, I don't need someone to be sitting here and be like, well, then what do we do? Because we need police. I want to say we don't need police, but we also need trained police officers that don't seem to think that it's their right and privilege to kill black folks on sight, or to trump up charges on black folks on sight, or charges on Hispanics on sight. Because black people get screwed over more than white people in the criminal justice system. That's just fact. Blacks and Hispanics are the ones that suffer more proportionately. Now, granted, what's crazy is that, people sit here and go, oh, well, and I saw this, because a lot of these All Lives Matter anti-protest people will sit there and they'll say, well, more white people have been killed by the police and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but when you look at I'm no math whiz. I'm not. But when the population of white versus black and white versus Hispanic is so much bigger, then yeah, you might have a number that's higher. But those percentages, there's something wrong there. And then you look at it as, how many times did those deaths of someone black or someone Hispanic fall under the whole adage of, oh, well, I was scared, or oh, they were resisting, and it was really just someone taking it from 0 to 60 because it's my right to do so.
I can't, again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but one of the things I do know for sure is the majority of my friends that have lived in the States, they're not just black, but also Middle Eastern, Hispanic, Samoan, right? I mean, there's minority groups that a cop will just pull over for no reason whatsoever, or it's like, hey, we think you look like this person, and then they'll put you through a scrutiny, and I've been told this by a number of my friends. I mean, it's a scary moment because you're just like, oh shit, this guy has a gun, and he's got the legal right to use it, and right now my fate's in his hands. Oh shit.
And then you're expected to just put up with it.
Yeah.
And it's not the case. And it's like, at the end of the day, bringing these things up, it's not being brought up to introduce, like, to give someone the chance to just want to challenge it left, right, and center. Mm-hmm. This is happening. Now it's come out, so let's work together to fix it.
Well,
let's work together to do so. But the thing is, people don't want to do it because they're happy with the status quo, because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't bother them.
I just based on what I'm saying, there are always going to be people that are going to be resistant to what's going on, but there's a lot of people that want to change it too. I know, like, personally, when I saw that, I saw the casualness of what I saw when I saw a little bit of that video. It pissed me off, and it pissed off a lot of people too. It's just like, okay, that's no, man, this shouldn't be. This should not exist like this anymore, right? And it shouldn't, right? It just shouldn't. Hiring practices need to be better. The fact of the matter is, it should be about ability. It should be about, like, what you bring to the table over whatever the color, whatever melanin is in your skin tone. I mean, really, who's to say, right? I mean, I don't know you. I mean, I know you, but I would rather judge you from the fact that you agree with me that Sexy Kurt is the greatest Shawn Michaels theme music of all time. It
really is.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really, really is, right? So, I rather be with that, and then I don't really care about too much else, because really, I mean, are we different people? Well, sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything either. Right, I'll have a beer with you, a Canadian beer, not an American beer. Your beer's.
Hey, have you had Yingling?
I haven't had it yet.
You gotta try Yingling, man. Yingling's not bad, but I will say this, man. I love Canadian beer.
Yeah. Well, you actually feel Canadian beer. I remember one time going into Arizona. I was living in Calgary, so I was living off a mountaintop too. I couldn't even get a buzz. I got bloated before I got buzzed. It really just.
Wow.
Well, so your alcohol contents on your regular beers, not your breweries are different, but your regular beers, my urine might have more alcohol content. I'm just saying. right? Right. My urine might have more alcohol content. So, so yeah, it's just like one of those situations where it's all you had. So I had one, and it was like I felt nothing. Then I realized that I was just came off a mountain, and Phoenix is in sea level, so I'm kind of in like extra mode. And I ended up just getting bloated. I just ended up getting bloated. I didn't even get buzzed. It's like, ugh. So I was so disappointed. I just had water the rest of the weekend, because it was like, just no point. There's just no point. Right?
Well, I'll tell you one thing right now. I find more of a point in Sexy Kurt than I do in most other things. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely, right? So I mean,
the man won gold medals with a broken freaking neck. What do you want?
Well, I just love the fact that he's slapping his ass with sensational cherry in the middle of the ring, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
I honestly, I really, I think that at the end of the day, when we can point out our acceptance of one another in spite of whatever differences there may be. I mean, that's a good, strong first step. But it's also being willing to treat someone the same.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Well,
that's the important thing.
Well, it's how it should be. Like, look, me and you are going to disagree on some things, and that's okay. And that's okay. Like, I know I'm a big enough man to know that I don't know a whole hell of a lot about how the world works. All right, I have opinions on some things. I have thoughts that maybe we should do things a little better. And there's that little bit of part of me that always thinks about Mark Twain. When the majority is thinking right about one thing, they're usually wrong. And there's a little bit of me that's paranoid about that kind of stuff. But for all of that, the world's bigger than me. I don't have all the magic answers. And you know what? I'm okay with that. You have a different way of approaching things than I do. And you know what? You might be more right than I am. Or at the very least, I can learn something from you. And at the end of the day, we can have a beer, we can sing Sexy Kurt, and then, and get along, and get along. Because really, at the end of the day, I think what I secretly hope when this is all over is that we all make nights and have lots of babies. Because that's honestly that's.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
And the one thing that I'll disagree with you on though. Mm-hmm. Is I will say I might have some things that I might be more learned on. You'll have some things that you're more learned
sure, absolutely.
And then we just learn from each other.
Oh no.
On our repertoire.
Absolutely. No, I'm not going to disagree with that at all. It's just one of those things where it's just like the world's bigger than I am. And I would be stupid to think that I had all the answers, right?
I wouldn't want to have. Would you even want to have all the answers?
God no.
God, that's got to be like the most loneliest existence. I think maybe that's why God was so cranky at first, like back in the Old Testament days, because he knew everything. And it's like, why am I even here if I know it all?
So I have a theory about why God made people imperfect. Do you want to hear it?
Please.
Surprise.
Yeah.
That's my actual answer to that. Because if you knew,
he already knew everything was gonna be, so he made us as imperfect as possible, so we could keep his life interesting.
Yeah, that's actually I thought about that, because if you're a man that knows absolutely everything, you would hate perfection, because perfection as a concept's boring as fuck. It's unchanging stagnation. I mean, there's another name for perfection to me, and that's death. Boring as fuck. But if you create things that are imperfect but can grow and mature and evolve, well, they'll never be perfect, but they don't need to be. They'll just change and go in their own. They will be a constant state of evolution. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool when you think about it like that, right?
I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's it. That's why and as I've gotten older, I've appreciated its imperfections more and more. That's why, like, was very mindful when the pandemic started not to dehumanize people that thought differently about what was going on with the virus than I did, because that bothered me. Because it's like we can't do that. Again, looking for different ways to segregate ourselves. We do that all the time. And even now, I think it's more important. Like, you know, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. In this one sense, we're all human beings. We all have our own views of how the world works, and we all have family and all have people that love each other, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to agree with you. I don't necessarily think you're wrong, but you might be right, and that's cool too, right? I'm just passing through, and I'm just trying to be the best person I can be, and that's what I try and by and large worry about.
Yeah, and I try really hard not to be the basis of pain for people.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that causes someone to have a bad day or, you know, a bad week, bad month. I don't want to be that. I just want to be a good dude. And I think that a lot of people at the end of the day, I think if we all just strive for a way just to be a good person, the world would be a much better place. Problem is, everyone wants to be smarter than the next person or more wealthy than the next person and want to be able to get one up on the next person. It's like, God, just stop. Life is too short for this.
Well, I've come to this point in my life. Don't get me wrong. I want the zillions and zillions of dollars. I want to be that huge mega rock star. I mean, you could totally see that with me, can't you? But
I can see you singing. I can see you singing sexy karaoke.
Yeah, I totally would. It would in a tutu of all things. But anyways, that's another story for another. But that's another story for another podcast. But anyways, but I will. This is what I've learned. I don't desire necessarily to be liked. I mean, I hope people like me, but if I'm hated, that's fine too. I desire to be understood. Because if I am understood, and you can understand me and I can understand you, the chances of me being hostile to you go down to virtually zero. It's not, I mean, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean conflict will stop. There will always be some degree of conflict. I mean, heck, like, it could be just as simple as trying to impress a woman. We've all been guilty of that one, right? So, I mean, and honestly, like I said, and it's the nature of the universe that we are going to struggle. That's just the nature of life. So, but what I want to do, and this is how I look at it, is if I can understand you, and you can understand me, and when we come to the conclusion that by and large we want essentially the same thing, right? We'll get along. We might still fight each other from time to time, but it won't be with like a malicious intent. And right, it'll be, this is what it has to be. Let's just do it and get it over with and move on. It's a less interesting life sometimes, right? But you know, that's what pro wrestling's for. Pro wrestling can invent these magical stories of why I hate somebody so much.
I think you're right. I think too, at the end of the day, you know, we're not supposed to get along all the time.
No.
But the smallest disagreement ain't got to turn into a damn war.
Oh, hey, yeah, I mean, I'm going to accept the fact, too, that there are some people in the universe that think I'm an asshole. Can you believe that? There are some people that think I'm an asshole? Yeah, me? No, never, right? And then,
not at all.
Ever, right? I have at least 2 people that never want to speak to me again. I mean, and I know I've done good in life, because honestly, would you trust a man that did not have enemies? Right?
No.
Exactly, right? So, on that note, right, that all said, it's not about being liked. It's not about being disliked. It's not about being loved. It's not about being hated. I mean, I hope you have those things in your life, because that makes you a fuller person. But it's about being understood and having that opportunity to be heard. That's the important thing, right?
I think that's spot on. It's about being understood, and it's about being respected.
Yeah.
You know, it's about being. I'll add respected to that.
Absolutely.
Well, because at the end of the day, we're not all gonna agree with everything.
Mm-hmm.
I might think, you know, peanut butter and chocolate is amazing. You might hate it. You might think coconut is amazing. I hate coconut.
That's fine.
But you know what? I respect your opinion on it.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't put no coconut anywhere near my chocolate, we good to go.
That's right.
If you put coconut in my chocolate, you and I are gonna have a problem.
Okay. Oh, okay. So no practical jokes on your birthday. Gotcha.
You know what's funny is that I'm not a big fan of practical jokes.
Really?
I'm really not. Which is weird because I'm such a joker, but I'm not a practical joker.
So I'll tell.
I don't even like going to haunted houses.
So for my first design class, I accidentally made a rocket ship look like a drug needle. Don't ask.
Nice.
No, don't ask. I don't know how I did that. Actually, I do know how I did that, but it's like that was not the plan. And everybody that looked at it, like, eventually got to the point that even my teacher's like, yeah, dude, seriously, it looks like you want to shoot somebody up. So what I did was I took one of my classmates' phone numbers, and I gave the address of the studio I worked at the time, and I made a flyer.
Oh, wow.
I know, isn't that great? I didn't distribute it to very many places, but I mean, I have a practical joker streak in me, and it can be very, very, very. I realize that it can be very vicious, so I don't generally feed that too much. But
and there's some people that are cool with practical jokes.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just not. That's just not.
Yeah.
That's not my brand of comedy.
And that's totally fine, right? But I'm just saying, like,
you ever see those videos online where like the person comes up and tries to scare someone, and they're like, and then it's like, oh, that's funny. No, I'm the guy that like they edit what happens out.
You punch them out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like I was at a haunted house, and I'm afraid of clowns. And this guy realized that I was afraid of clowns, and he kept coming at me. And I almost went into the fight portion of fight or flight. I was just that terrified. So no, I don't really do practical jokes well. I like to make jokes. I'm more into verbal comedy.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I'm not into the Punk'd. I couldn't be on a show like that. I couldn't have been on Punk'd.
No. You would have been like, okay. Yeah, because then you would have had a conversation with either Mr. Policeman or Mr. Legal Team, and either way that would not have been a fun conversation.
No, it's really not.
No.
No,
it's not. And the thing is, and the sad part is they'd have been right to have that conversation with you, but still, it's not one. You just want to skip that step.
Yeah, because it's like, at the end of the day, I'm not, it doesn't make it right just because I was upset or inconvenienced or scared that I should have swung.
Yeah, no. I mean, hopefully they didn't corner you, because if they corner you, that's a kind of a different thing. That kind of then they ask for. So a funny story. The last time I had a cat, my dad's girlfriend at the time brought this little dog, and this little dog would chase my cat around. So and he would just try to get away from the dog. Dog. So eventually he cornered the cat. My cat had big claws, blinded the dog in the eye. He hissed at him, warned the dog still kept going. At that point, we had to make a decision. We had to leave the cat away from the dog because the cat would have just killed him. Because again, it got past the friendly point, and it's like, so you never provoke you never corner somebody ever, because any response they do at that point, it's on you. That you cornered them, you deserve what you get. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one thing too. I hate feeling cornered.
Yeah.
And I will react.
Yeah, well, of course, and anybody would. If you're cornered, if you feel like you're in danger, that's the natural response, right? If somebody, going full circle, if you make somebody feel like they're in danger, right at the beginning, like if you put somebody in that position and they react to you, right? Unless you had a legitimate reason to put them in danger, right? And that's the very small list of things, right? Well, they're gonna react.
Yeah.
I'm gonna react.
And that's another thing too that I notice is that people seem to be nowadays trying to get reactions out of people.
Sure.
As far as you see these videos all the time now on social media. One just happened to come up on my Twitter feed of a Karen in Arizona telling a Latin trying so hard to get a reaction out of somebody, and then you get the reaction, and now you're the victim. Like,
well, no, but you're not the victim at that point. Like that's it.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're the instigator that got their comeuppance.
Yeah. Well, no, you push the button. Well, again, Arizona. I mean, in terms of the Mexican population, that's another topic for another day too.
I've never been further west than Chicago.
Okay.
And I have to say that when it comes to being around a large group of Hispanics, I never have been. But it is an experience I would like, because I do like to, as much as I hate being around people, I do like to experience other cultures.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, is Hispanic. And, we've actually decided, because he and I both have an issue with those DNA match things for your ancestry.
Yes.
Because neither one of us want to have our DNA in the system. But we both decided we have a pact going where we're going to do the DNA thing.
Okay.
So we can. But I'll tell you the truth, man. I hear about all these different places and the craziness that ensues. Like, I've never been to Florida, but now I know that if something crazy happens, it's probably coming out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Or Texas.
Yeah, Texas is its own world. It really is.
Well, it's big enough to be its own.
No. And just think, it's not big compared to any of the provinces in Canada except for like New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Just think about that for a minute.
Yeah, I was about to say because
Yeah.
What the hell? Because I know Ontario's a pretty huge province.
Ontario is like 3 Texases.
Damn.
Yeah.
And then Alberta is the name of the province, right?
Yeah, it's big too.
Calgary, Alberta. Yeah, so Alberta's and now Alberta is bigger than Ontario, isn't it?
No. Actually, hold on. Let me think about that.
Yeah, you're Canadian.
Yeah, no. Let me know. It's a tough one because so if you look on the map of Ontario has this. It looks like a giant thigh on the map, and Alberta does have more land mass, although less people, far less people.
Okay.
Yeah, because southwestern Ontario is densely populated. Northern Ontario is not so populated, but it's still big, right? Alberta is from Edmonton south. There's a people population there. You go north of Edmonton though, there's like nobody there. But it goes all the way to the Northwest Territories, which then goes all the way to the North Pole. So I mean, from a land size, and BC's the same way, Saskatchewan's the same way, Manitoba's the same way, right? So is Quebec. So it gives you like we have like huge, and every one of them's a world unto themselves too, to some degree.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the map of Canada right now, and you said Ontario itself is bigger than
Texas, yeah.
Texas, and Quebec is supposed to be the biggest province, right?
Yes.
So that just lets you know, like, wow.
Yeah.
And I can understand why some of those places aren't heavily populated, because you're getting toward the North Pole. It's pretty fucking cold.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that just to give you an idea. Just like the diversity of just in southwestern Ontario, where I'm at right now, is very, very cosmopolitan. A more laid back. Generally, Toronto's like a mini New York, but you throw Toronto out. Throw Toronto out of that equation. You have essentially what feels like a bunch of small villages compared to what you would feel in the United States. Detroit and Windsor, from a mentality, are very different. Yet oddly similar too, because they are right beside each other. Right, but you get to Northern Ontario, right? You get past North Bay. There's no, you'd look at it, you'll see the Canadian Shield, you see where a lot of old mining places were, and there's this giant bits of forest there, right? It is sparse. And then you keep going, you go in Manitoba, same thing, the southern part, there's Winnipeg, which is the coldest place to live on earth some days, right? Minus 60. I lived in Alberta, like Calgary, minus 40, okay? We had mountains, minus 60, flat. Yeah.
Now, I always said that I'd love to, maybe one day when it's time for me to, retire into Canada. That's too cold for that shit.
No. So you would like Southwestern Ontario, yeah, pick for you, my friend, I get the feeling you'd like somewhere like Hamilton or Brantford. Not too big, not kind of smallish, probably for what you're used to, but not so small that you can't get access to everything. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
Someplace that it's not really, really big, but it's not so small that I'm like a billion miles away from everything.
Yeah, exactly. So somewhere like Hamilton would be good for you, and then or Kitchener Waterloo would be nice for you. It gets to, I mean, we do have our -20 weather, but I mean, considering where you're at, considering where we're at, it's not that much colder, right? There'd be days you'd hate yourself just a little bit, but right. I mean, we're talking a couple days a year, not.
Because I mean, I've been to Toronto, I've been to London, I've been to Blenheim, and I love those areas.
Yeah.
I love Ontario. I love Southern Ontario. I think Canada is like probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life.
Go out west, even prettier there.
Oh, I definitely love to visit BC.
Even Alberta. You get past Calgary, it's gorgeous.
I'd like to visit Calgary. I like to visit, I like to visit Edmonton. I like to visit Calgary. I mean, I just honestly, if I had the knowledge now that I did when I was like 20, what I'd probably do is like drive into Canada and just like backpack it through, just road trip through Canada.
It's actually, I mean, I'm approaching 40. Like, until this, one of my reasons why I want to get into the film industry. This is my master plan, probably for the foreseeable future when things open up again. Get my driver's license. Probably go to the States to get a full license because it's easier there. And God bless you guys for some of your standards. That's all I'm gonna say as far as that goes. God bless. Once everything opens up, like, I want to get into the film industry because that's Toronto, Vancouver. So, and I interview incredible people all the time. So I just love this idea of meeting just these great people doing great things and traveling the country and just interviewing them. I love that idea, and I still want to do it. Now, I can't do it right this minute, but we're not going to be in this moment forever either, right? So I look at it kind of like, one day we'll hit that point again, and then I'll probably try and get myself into the film industry. 1 second.
My number is 469-358-3860. I just want to talk to you for a few minutes. I thought you want to ask you a couple questions, so I'll try calling you back later. I don't hear from you. Bye.
Okay. Hey, just something to delete later. Anyways, like I said, that's what I want to do. Like, that's what I wanted to do. Like, I'm at that point in my life. Like, I'm not married, right? I don't have kids, so I don't necessarily like a house doesn't. I don't really need a house. Why? Right?
Right, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, why? Right? I mean, I don't really want to work for anybody anymore. I'm too old for that. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to do what I want to do. So my plan was get into the film industry, make connections there, but get the ability to work both in BC and in Ontario. Like, work in both unions, get in both unions, and then like do that as kind of like my quote unquote day job. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm driving across the country interviewing great people. That was my plan. And then write books while I'm doing it, And maybe in this crazy life, maybe find someone that's crazy enough to do that trip, fall in love, and just travel the world. Because fuck it, you only live once, right?
That's true.
Right? So that's it. I think. So, the post-COVID world. One of the things that I think is going to happen with a lot of these properties is they're going to plummet. Because if you're in an office. Well, I don't need to go in the office, because why? I can do most of my work at home, right? Unless you're a school or a hospital, there's really no and maybe in the States, maybe if you have some military bases and stuff like that, there's really no need for most people to go to an actual office to work anymore.
Oh, I already told my job because we got put into the green zone now.
Yeah.
But I already said, I'm not coming into the office if I can work from home.
Yeah.
Screw that.
Exactly. So much easier, right? Less headache. You wake.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but then what's crazy, because my wife, she works with kids. So, and she's going back into work. Well, she's got to be at work for 7:30 in the morning. Now, I usually work 9 to 5. I'm not getting to work for 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning to work like a 9-hour work day. No, I'm not doing all that. That's a big no for me. So I'm just gonna work from home and just do it that way.
And if you have to go to the office, it's like once a month. Hi, I'm alive.
Yeah, I might go like once a week, once every, once, twice a week, part-time in office, as long as my computer at work is set up, I can work from home with no problem.
Yeah. And that's the majority of people, right? So freelancing is going to open up big time because, again, if you can do it, I can do it, right? And that, because if you can work from a company from home, I can work for a company from home is what I mean. It's not a big deal. I have really no interest in going into an office, and a company's going to be looking at their offices and go, well, why do we have an office? Right? Like,
right.
Why? Because it doesn't make sense anymore. So, why are we going to pay astronomical high amounts of rent for a giant building that looks like a penis that no one's actually coming in to use?
I love the fact that it looks like a penis.
Yes.
But no, you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I think the world is definitely just going to look 1,000 times different.
Mm-hmm.
In this post-COVID existence, in a lot of different, in multiple ways.
Yep.
In multiple ways. I think that if one positive is going to come out of George Floyd's horrible murder, it's the fact that I think that people are just going to start looking at people, like at other people, differently.
Yeah.
There's going to be, I'm hoping that that's the case. But I'm also a firm believer that, we're moving into a different way of life.
Oh, yeah.
All across the world. And usually it takes, some crazy-ish going on. And as everything starts to settle down, life is just totally different. I mean, look at what the world was like pre-9/11 to post-9/11. It almost seems like every 20 years something happens to sort of change the way life is lived.
Oh, well, usually these changes happen, how did I put this? The United States as it was operating couldn't continue operating the way it was. But if it had been left to its own devices, it would have taken another 10 years before it hit the point we hit at today. Right?
I think you're absolutely right.
Right. It would take another 10 years because you would have been able to do a slow crawl. Like, it would have been a slow crawl to it.
It would have been a forced slow crawl because
oh yeah, that's why it's 10 years.
Because statistics show that by 2040, it's either 2040 or 2043, that America is going to be primarily people of color.
Yeah.
And I think that in a lot of ways, America was trying to slow that.
Oh.
And they're trying to things are trying to be put in place to alleviate that. But the thing is, you can't change time.
No.
You can't change how life works.
You can slow down change. You can't stop it. That's just the way it is. So,
exactly.
Right? Even if it had gone to a crawl, okay, you would have had another economic collapse at some point. That would have happened. That was going to happen again. So, I'm choosing to become a freelancer now simply because I'm looking at the fact that I don't want to be part of the work cycle when the next major thing happens. Right? I just don't see that there's a future in it anymore. That's just my opinion. but that's how I see it, right?
Right.
Right? So I want to get myself as independent as I can now, so that when things go tits up again, because it will for some other unforeseen reason, blah 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 blah, I don't need anybody. Right? I don't want to be part of the system anymore. Right?
That makes sense.
Right. I don't want to do it because it makes zero sense to me because I look at the fact, okay, if I was, a lot of people are out of work. We have a lot of small businesses that just lost everything because of their storefronts that aren't worth as much anymore. Right? So you just had this big paradigm shift like that. I literally don't have much to my name right now. But that's a huge advantage because I can be anything I want to be and do anything I want to do. I'm oddly bulletproof. That's just, again, personal thing, right? So since I have this ability right now, I can set the course for my next 10 years without worrying about the consequences so much, right? Because even if things go tits up, well, I'm already at the bottom. It's not like I can go anywhere lower than this. Let's just get back up, right?
That's a good point.
Right.
That's a real good point.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? I basically I can do whatever it is I need to do. So I'm looking at this now as an opportunity to fix things, because everybody that goes back into the work cycle when this is over, well, in 10 years they're going to go off the work cycle again, and it's going to be a lot more unstable going forward too. Full-time jobs are going to be a lot harder to come by as a result of this, because honestly, a company's looking at the fact, hey, I can get people working from home. Well, what's the difference between getting an employee I already have versus somebody that's just with a computer on the street? Because you know what, in terms of training, it isn't that different.
You're not wrong. I think that at the end of the day, what we're really going to start seeing is, people are going to be more from working from home, but I also think that eventually, and especially with the advent of virtual reality, as that's becoming more of a thing, we're going to start seeing a Ready Player One type life situation where people are inside virtual reality.
Yep.
And working inside virtual reality.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That technologically speaking, absolutely. I think we're also going to be seeing. But I also do think like the nature of the work. The employee-employer relationship of the last 30, 40 years is going to be heavily rewritten. And so I think what's going to end up happening is most of us are going to become brands and small businesses of our own, right? That are mobile, mercurial, and as efficient as possible, because those are the ones that are going to make their go of it. And I think everybody else. And then there'll be a few people, there's like still the traditional job thing, but that window will get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And with each crisis, right, it'll become a smaller and smaller bubble. So.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that, it's just, we're just going to be living a different world.
Yeah.
We've already said that. We've said that how many different ways, how many different times.
Mm-hmm.
But on one hand, it's exciting. On another hand, it's kind of nerve-wracking.
Of course it is. That's the nature of change. That's the nature of change.
Or you never know. It may end up being that we're actually in the Matrix, and this is just what the machines are doing to keep us under control. Who knows?
Well, at that point, dude, I just go get a fishing boat.
You get a what?
Fishing boat. Just go fishing.
Oh, there you go.
Well, listen, if the world's hit that point of no return, there's really no point in me fighting it. I'm just gonna go fishing.
You know what I'd probably do if we were really with life and we were at the point of no return?
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably backpack into Canada somewhere.
Sure.
And just live in the wilderness.
Why not?
I would become Wolverine.
Okay, you know what? That sounds good. So, but I think I'm gonna close the interview with this as a wonderful thought. Yeah, change is uncomfortable. Change completely changes the paradigms we live in many, many, many ways. But at the same token, those changes are necessary, right?
Life always supposed to be comfortable.
No. You don't.
Who the hell told you? Who the hell promised any? When I say you, I don't mean you. I mean you, as in y'all listening. Who the hell promised you comfort in life?
Exactly.
Because if you were promised comfort in life, I want to know who the hell told you that, and where the hell I can get mine.
Yeah.
Cause shit.
No, it's true, because but I mean that's the nature of the world we live in, right? The world changes. The world never stops changing,
If
and
the world didn't change, it wouldn't be life.
Exactly.
It would be boring.
It would be
You
boring.
would be miserable.
Absolutely. No, I would be like, I mean, don't get me wrong. When 2020 is over, I sincerely hope 2021 is nothing but peace and quiet. I
Oh
really.
my God! If 2021 doesn't settle the fuck down,
Yeah.
after
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I really want a little peace and quiet. I think nobody would be against right now, right?
it's time to take a break. Let 2021 be chill, and let 2022 be. Let's get 365 days of peace and quiet.
Yeah, that'd be nice, right? So, all I'm saying and bringing up to the equation is simply this. Well, with all this going on, with all the world kind of going like batshit crazy, yeah, it's kind of scary, it's uncomfortable, but you know what? Same token, we needed this change.
Yeah, I
We did.
mean, I think that the world needed their eyes open to the plight of people of color here in America.
Mm-hmm.
It was necessary to call about change.
Yeah.
And because change needed to happen. I mean, at the end of the day, the way and we talked about, and I don't want to continue to beat the dead horse, but the way our media is set up, it's set up to tell one particular narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And when you try to fight against that narrative, it doesn't work. So what happened I think that the world needed to see the plight of what it's like to be black in America, so that way the real change would come.
Yes.
And that's the only way that it could happen. That's the only way that it could happen.
Yep. At least quick.
And I'm so heartbroken that it had to be that way. But, George Floyd's daughter, his young daughter said, my daddy changed the world.
Yeah.
She's not wrong.
No.
I don't think that policing, not just in America, but policing in the world and how police treat their citizens, it's gonna change.
Yeah. Absolutely. My only hope is it's not a defund from government for funding by corporation. That's the only thing I'm really concerned about with us.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Like I'm just being real. Like the big thing about all these protests are great, but like I said, we've been down this road before in history where we've protested in the past. I'm not trying to be a downer. Just like this is how it's gone, right? So what I'm hoping happens is we're not just looking at the fact that okay, yeah, change needs to happen. We don't settle with change either. We actually get how it's supposed to be. If you're going to defund the police, okay, create a force that still will still deal with like disputes, but yeah, let's deal with counseling, let's deal with poverty. And honestly,
create a community-based review policing system.
Yeah.
Where it's people in the community.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem. A lot of folks have said, you get police officers that are coming into the communities from 30, 40, 50 miles away. They have no investment or care in the community.
And no idea how it works, right? And right, so that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, and that's where things need to. Like I said, I'm optimistic. There are things about the future I'm wondering about. Like I said, because again, history is a pattern, and hopefully we don't repeat some of the same patterns we have in the past. But I guess my prayer is this: I hope our desire for order is trumped our desire for justice.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's where I'm at.
Well, the thing is, you can't have order without justice. You have to have justice.
No. You can't have peace without justice, right? You can have order. That's the scary part, right? So that's me. That's me. Like, hope. That's me. That, again, darkest timeline, right? So.
Now I gotta watch Community.
Yes.
That's like the third time that you said darkest timeline. So now
yes.
I gotta watch.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. But yeah, that's.
So not only am I watching Sexy Kurt another 10 times when I go to use the bathroom next, but then I'm gonna go back to watching.
So yeah, no, it's so. I'm sorry. I'm such an influencer, right?
You're a jack.
Yeah.
You're a jack.
But
you know what? One question before we go.
Sure.
And this is something that's always been bothering me. Why the hell do y'all Canadians call your ham bacon?
Cause I honestly don't have a good answer for you on that one. No, I'm sorry. Look, here's my counter argument. You guys don't have poutine, and I don't understand you guys.
What the hell's poutine?
Poutine is like cheese, chili, and fries, man. Or actually, cheese, gravy, and fries together. It's amazing. And you guys don't do it, and we don't understand.
Well, we do it here in Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah. Well, you see, you learn from us.
Potato patch at Kennywood.
Yeah, okay, but we call it poutine. We've had it for like 150 years, man. It's ours.
Oh, you just got the fancy word.
That's right. Our word. That's right. Don't hate us because our word's fancy.
Oh no, not at all. If anything, I just see it as being very, very polite.
Yes. Well, that is our culture in a nutshell. Actually, it is polite. Even when we hate you, we are polite about it.
Listen, I really don't like you. You're a hoser. So if you wouldn't mind just getting the hell out of here, I'd really appreciate it.
Actually, yeah, there are a couple conversations that have been like that. Yeah. Okay. Not quite the hoser thing. The hoser thing that's not universal. But the rest of that, yeah, I've heard something along those lines. It's funny.
All right, fair enough. All right, so I'm glad I'm not just stereotyping. It's
mostly stereotyping. Well, I won't hold it against you too much. That's okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just in America. I don't know any better.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
But no, I love Canada. I really do. And I definitely hope when all this is said and done and I got a little bit of money left over, I can get a passport and visit the Great White North again soon.
That's right.
I haven't been to Canada since before 9/11.
Oh wow, yeah. Some things have changed. Some things for the better. Some for like everywhere else. Some for the better. Some for the worse.
As long as you still got Tim Horton.
We do.
All right, that's all I need.
Yeah. No, we got Tim Hortons. Don't worry about it.
All right, cool. That's all I need.
So until I see you in Canada, I think we have an interview here, my friend.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So what do you want to promote?
You know what? Just make sure you listen to me, myself, and my partner Shane Wilson of the Plotaholics. Plotaholics.com or at Plotaholics on your social media platforms. You can also check out my book, Invincible Heart, available now on Amazon. You can just put my name, Bryan Tann, in your Amazon search bar, or go to my website, bryantann.com, or to randomevolvedmedia.com and get your books there. And yeah, that's about it. Hopefully there'll be some announcements in the next couple of months about my next release. And yeah. Matter of fact, with the Plotaholics, we are currently in the early days of our shitty movie summer. And last week we did Break Into Electric Boogaloo, and for today, Sunday, June 7th, we just dropped our No Holds Barred episode. No Holds Barred, the 1989
Oh God.
classic, starring Hulk Hogan.
Hey, listen. I mean, well, okay, no, Suburban Commando was better than No Holds Barred. So
that you know that Suburban Commando was another Hulk Hogan movie, or the fact that you've seen both movies enough to say which one was better than the other.
You only need to see them once.
You are right. Suburban Commando is better than No Holds Barred, and that's not saying much.
No, it's not. But
they're both better than Mr. Nanny.
I actually think that one's his most watchable of all his 3 movies. I'm not saying it's... It's scarily enough, it's his most watchable.
Well, remember, he also did that Three Ninjas movie.
Oh, God. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Sadly, I can't. Once I've seen a movie, they're usually stuck in my brain.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Me too.
Okay, so listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go off the air, then I'm going to put on Sexy Kurt, and life will be good again, okay?
Sounds perfect.
Alright. Thanks, man.
Alright, have a good...
Something wicked this way comes. Prairie Gothic is a new collection of psychological horror stories set on the vast Canadian prairies by up-and-coming talents. And we need your help. By contributing to Prairie Gothic through Kickstarter, you can unlock special swag, exclusive contributor-only events, and even have a song written about you. Visit kickstarter.com/profile/prairie soul to find out more and see what's waiting for you in the wide open spaces.
And that was my conversation with Bryan Tann, ladies and gentlemen. A very, very, very thoughtful one. Like I said, a little uncomfortable in some places. But let's be honest. We've lived in a world that's been built a certain way for a very, very long time. And yeah, Black lives do matter. But there's a lot of other racism in Canada. Like I said, Native discrimination is brutal. Unbelievably brutal. But, I mean... You go to anybody that has come to this country from another place and they will tell you that they've faced indifference and ignorance and cruelty from the people that live here. Racism isn't just a culture, one particular culture either. But when you build something a certain way and you design something a certain way, at some point you gotta look in the mirror about what's going on. So people are asking, how do you deal with racism? Ultimately, we're going to have to go full circle on this at some point. We're not going to go back to the way things were, I hope. But I should happen... Bryan Tann being a African American in the United States should not land him in more trouble. Make his life more difficult. Bryan Tann should be measured for the merits of the man he is. He just so happens to be African American. That's it. Alright? That's the way it should be. Bryan Tann's a man. I'm a man. Anybody that's been on my show that's a man, identifies as a man, is a man. And anybody that's on my show that identifies as a woman is a woman. And that's it. That is as much a distinction that needs to be done. To the rest, it's what you do. How you treat people, how kind you are, how much your mistakes, your regrets, your love, the life you live, the life you choose to live, the dreams you choose to chase. That's the stuff that matters. The rest, most of the rest of life. The one thing about this whole time, the one thing I think I realize more and more as time goes on in this time, nothing I see around me is real. Nothing. The constructs we set ourselves do not have to be this way. To quote Nietzsche, just because things have always been this way doesn't mean they always have to be this way. But we have to recognize and be honest with ourselves for the history of our story of how we got here. And look at it honestly. And then look about where we're going next. Because that's the important thing. We're here now. But where we want to go, that's up to us. And the kind of world I want a world where Bryan Tann and I can sing Sexy Kurt to our heart's content, and no police officer will think to stop either one of us for whatever reason, other than maybe to give us $5 to stop singing. Yeah, Brian, they'd have to pay me to stop. I am that kind of whore. But, that's it. Like, just live and let live. I mean, that's ultimately where we have to get to. Make love, not war. I'm kind of waiting until we get to the second we get through all this and we throw, a giant party, because what the hell? I think everybody deserves it after this. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to close this out today a little bit differently. My links are below if you want to support me in any way, shape, or form. Sign up for my newsletter, read my books, or whatever. But for today, because it's an honor of my friend, Mr. Bryan, just for you, I got a little song. I think I'm cute. I got gold medals. I got the moves that make them all tap out. The angle slam. The ankle lock. Marty Jannetty still can't walk. He's a sexy Kurt. Sexy Kurt. He'll make your ankle hurt. Ankle hurt. He's just a sexy Kurt. Sexy Kurt. He's just an ankle Kurt. He'll make your ankle hurt. Ankle hurt. And I'm even going to leave the mistake in there. There you go, Brian. You have yourself a good one, buddy. Thanks for coming on my show. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Josh.